It is Tuesday, November 5th, one of the most important and influential days in all of American history. The NFL trade deadline has come and gone. We're here to talk about it, talk about the Chiefs game with the Buccaneers, one that was quite a thriller and almost as controversial as the other thing that's happening on this November 5th Tuesday. Garrett, this is Talkin Chop, isn't it?
It's always Talkin Chop, baby.
Yeah, I want to just talk about that for a second.
This guy is a
It
beast
seems like he just rubs butter on himself.
because he had 2 touchdowns, baby. Honestly, I think that was one of our better cold
Yeah.
opens.
I mean, hey, it's a perfect setup, perfect old layup from just two really major things happening on the same day. And we get to talk about the more fun one. So,
Equally important in I think my opinion. One might be a little bit more important.
who's really weighing the scales? I don't know. But in my opinion, we're talking about the fun one today. Got a lot of news, kind of some slow trades, some big trades. Everyone hypes up the trade deadline as we talked about earlier. But there was a pretty
And
big one that happened.
I feel like the weeks up to the trade deadline are always better than the actual day itself.
Yeah.
Because, a lot can happen with, apparently the Steelers wanted Christian Kirk and he got injured. That probably would have been a trade deadline move, but since he got hurt, it didn't matter. And then you have teams that are just like, you know what? I think we should just keep this player and just can never come to a deal. And yeah, so Chiefs didn't make a move at the trade deadline, but we got DeAndre Hopkins. And did he move the
Balled
needle?
out.
He moved the needle, man. It is an offense that looks different. Mahomes' first game without an interception all year, which is crazy, Garrett. I can't believe we're saying this.
I
But
know,
Mahomes,
it's crazy.
he looks so much more confident today. And we're going to talk about all that, the Buccaneers game, the upcoming Broncos game, how the Broncos might be the best Broncos team we faced and still not be that good. But yeah, let's get right into our classic injury report and player news. We're out a lot of players, Garrett, and we almost
they just keep piling up, man. As you were about to say, we almost lost more. I mean, we had
Yeah.
a lot of scares. Mahomes kind of having that little limp off the sideline. That one, it just my heart shattered.
Did you
I
hear
was like,
people,
that's it.
did you see like NFL fans were like, he's such a dramatic queen. He's trying to make it bigger than it is. I'm like, I bet you he did hurt it, and then he
Retweaking
walked
injuries
it
like
off.
that is always really scary because they can get really inflamed really quickly, and it can feel like something a lot more serious than it is. And obviously he thought it was something really, really. I mean, he was carried off the field essentially, more
Yeah.
than like 90% of the way. And then I think he saw our backup quarterback, old Carson Wentz, suiting up, slinging the rock. He's like, you know what? Give me the shot. I'm going back in.
Yeah.
No way.
They definitely gave him something magic in that little blue tent
Yeah.
when he went in there because he seemed like a changed man afterwards. But it's his ankle was already taped in practice this literal week, so he definitely already had a pre-existing injury that he's been playing through, and he just hurt it a little bit. It was rainy, it was wet, it happens. But other players that almost got hurt and scared the living crap out of me is George Karlaftis, who I think could low-key make the Pro Bowl and deserves more attention. He had a hip injury, was out for a little bit. Thank goodness he returned. Andy Reid seems confident he'll be back next week. So, but that was
and Wharton went down on the same play. He did not return to the game, but it doesn't seem to be anything too serious. So luckily he's back. He's been a really pretty good run stopper up the middle with us. So.
And he's gotten some sacks this year too. I mean, he's gotten better in the run stuffing, and his pass rush has been really great. And it's his knee.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful about the knee. But
his rotation with Wharton and Mike Pinnell has been pretty solid. So even if Wharton misses a little bit of time, I think Pinnell can really step up and be a really big contributor. So
and Derek Notty's been kind of quiet this year. Not gonna lie, I really haven't seen him out there very much. But moving on to another injury that we have to report. Mecole Hardman left the game early, went to the locker room. I thought he was going to be done for the day. Looked like a similar shoulder injury to, Hollywood Brown. And we know how that worked out. So, but turns out we were wrong. He just came right back into the game just because we didn't have a kick returner otherwise. I saw Pirine back there returning kicks. They don't want to put Worthy back there, which I think says a lot about, what Andy Reid thinks Worthy can be if he doesn't want him getting hurt on kick returns.
Yeah.
Because we threw Tyreek Hill back there in his rookie year, but doesn't want Worthy to kick
Well,
return.
and some people could say like, oh, well, I mean, he's throwing McColl back there, and they're kind of a similar build. It's just Worthy's weight is kind of a problem right now because he's already getting a little bit more targets and more like just opportunities in the game. And we just don't want him getting fully lit up full speed by, a free gunner on punt. You know what I mean?
Well, and I just think they think he's a more valuable player to the offense than Hardman is. And so he was an electric kick returner in college. I wish we got to see a little bit of it in the NFL because, dang, I feel like, I forgot to mention we do not have Jackson today because I was going to say a stat I'd love to look up is how many kick return touchdowns he had at Texas because I think I've seen at least 2 or 3. So no
Statman Jackson today, so we're gonna have to just power through this without him. But
we can use our own typing skills, I guess. It'll just be like less seamless as it has been in the previous weeks. We're gonna go over, I guess, a quick list of some of the injuries. Najee Johnson, I'm sorry, I really appreciate you. I just forgot to put you on the second slide.
He's been great for us when he's out there. Just forgot about him. So
well, I was 2 a.m. and he had a concussion, and Tyrone Tracy ended up playing on his concussion within the week. So I don't think he was completely ruled out yet. So I didn't put him in the graphic. But this is our IR right now. So these guys aren't coming back for a while, except Pacheco might be activated in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which would be awesome. Jalen Watson, someone said he's out for the season, but Jalen Watson himself said, "Who told you that? That's not true." But then he since deleted the tweet, so maybe he is going to be out for the season, but a little bit ambiguous there. Obviously, Rice and Hollywood. Hollywood might be back for the playoffs. Fortson, Wiley are probably out for the season. Sky Moore, I feel like, see, this Sky Moore injury came up out of nowhere, and I think it's similar to what Andy Reid did last year, which was like
is it more like a quiet quitting?
It's a polite benching. I think it's a polite IR benching because I think it's like you're saying his his side hurts or something. I don't know, but
and then his like oblique or something.
That's what it is. Yeah, and then we have McCade.
By the way, have no idea who this guy is.
Garrett,
no idea.
I mean, I'm not gonna pretend like I know who he is, but
that's coming from me. Like I know all Chiefs linemen, and I have no idea who this guy is.
Well, all I know is he was undrafted this year. So he was one of our rookies that I guess we're using an IR spot to stash him because he got injured. I mean, we did it with Justin Ross, undrafted rookie that we stashed on IR. So, it's a smart little Chiefs move. I also just Googled it, Garrett. He's from Oklahoma. So, it's an OU lineman.
Great lineman. Great lineman.
He's a great player. All right, moving on. Ruled out last week, Tampa Bay, Juju, Mike Dana, and Najee Johnson. I'm sorry. Pup list, Charles Omenihu, he'll be coming back eventually. I think in 3 to 4 weeks is what I've been hearing from
I feel
people.
like a lot of these injuries for guys like Pacheco, Omenihu, Dana, they're kind of all fitting into this same slot where eventually we're just going to have Thanos rings Avengers. All our dudes are just going to come back at the same time, and we're just going to light up the league.
Especially on defense, because Uche did really well. He went up against Tristan Wirfs. That was the matchup Reed wanted. Yeah. That's why George Karlaftis ate so well, too, was because he got to go up against the other tackle for the Buccaneers, and he's not nearly as good as, I think it's Godecki. He's the guy who wears the Guardian
Luke
cap.
Godecki.
Yeah. He's good, but Karlaftis is, I think, Karlaftis gets so slept on. I can't sing his.
Well, I mean, when you have to double team Chris Jones every play, and now we're forcing Uche to go against Tristan Wirfs,
which was impressive.
Yeah,
because Uche just is the faster guy, so it makes sense to put him on Wirfs, who's really fast. But Uche was just kind of pushing him back and letting Chris Jones take care of his own double team without having Wirfs coming to help. I was watching 55 a lot, and he looked really good just coming off. I wonder how many pressures he has. A Jackson thing that would be nice to have.
It'd be a Jackson thing.
BJ Thompson, I don't think will come back for the rest of the season. He had a cardiac arrest, and I think this is kind of just a safe, we're going to keep you on the non-football illness list for the year and kind of just protect you. He's not really needed right now, so it's just a way for him to stay rostered and tenured. So it'll be good. Baylor Cup, man, practice
another guy.
IR.
Don't know who that is.
I have access to the Chiefs official media site, and I didn't know there was a separate IR for practice squad, so I found that out when officially he is on the
What are
practice
the
squad
odds he's
IR.
related to Cooper?
That's a great question.
How common can the last name Cup be, really?
I highly doubt it, but you never know. I think he went to Tech too, so I think that's why he's on our team. Because Mr. Mahomes. All right, Garrett. But let's move on to some NFL trade deadline news. Because
the big one, the big day, the only thing that's happening today on November 5th, 2024.
Yes. I mean, this one is funny. The Cowboys got Jonathan Mingo, and everyone is talking about this trade. We talked about Jonathan Mingo as a potential person that could come to the Chiefs. I wanted him for cheap, and I was probably going to be pretty mad even if we got him for cheap, because I think that would just be Kadarius Toney 2.0. Don't worry, the Cowboys are doing Kadarius Toney 2.0. They won't get a Super Bowl though. A 4th-round pick.
Yeah, a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo is kind of crazy. Really happy for the Panthers. Absolutely fleeced them. But I don't know what Jerry and his front office is really thinking, giving up a 4th for a guy like Mingo.
Because Mingo, coming out of the draft, was a raw prospect that, had a ton of upside. But if you are getting outplayed by Jalen Coker, who we've talked about on the podcast, funny enough.
Holy Cross, man. What can I say?
Because he went to Holy Cross and he was on the CJ Hansen film, and Garrett was watching the CJ Hansen film, and he's like, hey, this wide receiver Coker is really good at Holy Cross. And what do you know? Great call by Garrett, because he's actually better than Mingo and playing really well for the Panthers, which is, but if Mingo's not going to beat him out, like, I don't know what in Dallas is going to fix that.
I mean, good for the Panthers. I mean, getting a 4th for that, I mean, that just masterclass.
So Deontay Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins went for less than that, which is insane, like absolutely insane. I'm also like kind of mad at the Cowboys, because why did they trade a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance and are going to start Cooper Rush? I heard they were starting Cooper Rush. Like, why?
I feel like they're going to give one game for Cooper. He's not going to play great. He probably won't play bad, but by the end of the season, they have to start Lance, right? Like, that just has to happen.
Their season is already over. You need to see what you have in Trey Lance. It's his contract year. You would have just traded a 4th-round pick for nothing then if you don't see what you have in Trey Lance.
And they're not going to re-sign him if they haven't seen what he can do.
Well, yeah, and Cowboys fans, y'all are sorry. Your team is sorry. Speaking of sorry, that's a terrible transition, but whatever. Speaking of sorry, the sorry ass Bengals just got Khalil Herbert. KU legend, by the way. It's actually a really, really good trade. I quite like that for them. Zach Moss is injured. Chase Brown had like every single running back touch in that game against the Raiders. That's not sustainable. Get Khalil Herbert, who's a great quality player. And yeah, they got him for, I don't remember what they got him for.
It wasn't a lot. I think it was like a 7th-round pick swap or something.
There was a lot of that in this trade deadline. It was like, I mean, Zadarius Smith went for like a 7th-round pick, or Preston Smith went for like a 7th-round pick to the Steelers. Both Smiths got traded in his trade deadline.
Zadarius going to the better team, obviously, but Preston, he'll probably do all right. Steelers made a couple of moves, so I mean, they're trying something, I guess.
Mike Williams to the Steelers. I kind of like that move. I'm probably going to pick up Mike Williams in fantasy in my deep league, because I need a wide receiver now that Cedric Tillman's on bye. That's who we've been starting. I had Olave, bro. Olave, man, I feel so bad for him. He has 5 concussions now, and
the king of hospital passes, Derek Carr, is just a menace.
Dude, Derek Carr is one of my least favorite players of all time. Like, least favorite players in any sport of all time, Derek Carr.
You know what's crazy is that Derek Carr Glazers, like, normally when you have a guy that is just constantly, you're just hyping up, like, he's like, oh, he's so good. The best thing Derek Carr Glazers can say about him is, dude, he's average. Like, he's at least good. Like, he's a little bit above average.
Here's what I have to say. Daniel Jones has more playoff wins than Derek Carr. And I'm also going to say this. Derek Carr is one of the only players in NFL history, one of the only quarterbacks in NFL history to lose to 31 NFL teams. And he's about to lose to 32 when he plays the Raiders for the first time in his career this year in Week 17. Because you have to be a special type of mid to be playing long enough to play all 31 teams
and to be
or
able
all
to lose
32
all
teams.
of them.
And you have to suck enough to lose to all of them.
It's like it's the opposite end of the spectrum. Is like we always see like, oh, Tom Brady beat all, like he's played and beat against all 32 NFL teams. You know, I think Mahomes is really close. I think Manning did it. But now we're on the other end of the spectrum where he's just lost to everybody.
Well, and also part of it too is you have to get traded, so you have to beat your former team. But like, dude, I think Brady was like at least 5 teams had never beaten him. Like, so Derek Carr, how have you lost to every single team, bro? Because he's so bad. I don't know how he keeps getting paid. He tricks the league. It's like David Carr too, did the exact same thing.
It's like that one quarterback, like the backup quarterback, like Chase Daniel. Right? I think his career like win-loss record was like 2-16. And he got paid so much money.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, at least getting career backup money, was good. So there's that for other career backups. Moving on to the final trade that we're going to cover here. The big one. Chiefs were rumored to get him. I never believed it was going to happen because you can't. He's going to be way too expensive, and he's good. He's great. And I actually love this move. Washington Commanders get Marshawn Lattimore for a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, and they get back a 5th-round pick and Marshawn Lattimore. So
it's way out of our price range.
Veach hates multiple draft pick trades because to him, that's multiple star players. And quite frankly, it could be like the way Veach drafts in the 6th round, the way Veach drafts in the 4th round and 3rd rounds. Like, that's 3 players for 1. Veach doesn't like to do that. It doesn't matter if it's a 6th or a 7th.
Yeah.
We were never going to make that trade. And the Commanders, it makes sense for them to make that trade because this window of rookie contract Jaden Daniels is open. You want to win a Super Bowl while your quarterback's on his rookie deal, give him a shot this year. And it doesn't matter if you don't get it because you're training him on playoff experience. So love this for the Commanders. I'm kind of glad we didn't get him. Also, if we get Jalen Watson back in the season anyway, I'm not worried once he comes back. I am worried right now because Roland Wallace and Joshua Williams did not look great in this game. We'll talk about that later. Honestly, it's time to move on to the Buccaneers recap. Yeah. Chiefs played the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football, and Garrett, it looked fantastic. It shouldn't have been a stressful game. The beginning, we should have been up by 14 or 21.
It could have been 14-0 pretty quickly, but as we know, our favorite team of all time just loves to keep it close. Mahomes has that quote when he's during that golf tournament. You know, he says, you've never seen me win a blowout. I always keep it really close to the end. And this game perfectly encapsulates that. Offensively, there was at times where we struggled a bit, but I mean, we had a pretty good game plan. D-Hop obviously exploded out of the scene. We'll talk a little bit more about him in a second, but I kind of said last week that this might be the first game that defense isn't going to bail us out and we have to actually put up points and score. And we did.
You're right.
Defense, this was the first time we've really seen them struggle all year. And it was to a team that I would have loved to see that not happen considering how many people they have out in their offensive skills positions. But
we did limit their wide receivers besides Sterling Shepard.
I hope so.
I understand that, but I mean, Sterling Shepard was just cooking on the outside, and they did a bunch of jet sweeps with him too. But as I predicted, running backs out of the backfield are our kryptonite, and what do they have? 3 of them: Rashad White, and Sean Tucker. They all had such creative ways too. I really got to shout out the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. They had very creative ways of giving them the ball without doing straight handoffs that were not cute like Andy Reid's, but it was just like really strong power motion, like handoffs, and like really just like as short as possible and as lateral as possible when they were handing the ball off. And especially with Bucky Irving, he broke a couple. But it was really just out of the passing game. Those running backs were eating. Rashad White got a rushing touchdown as well as you saw,
7 catches combined in the running back room out of the backfield. Kind of crazy. Crazy.
And then how much rushing yards did we hold them to though?
We
felt
held them
like
under. I know we held them under 100. I think it was around 70 ish.
oh, so like
That's
the
including
combined.
Baker though. So
Yeah, Baker was running all over us again, dude. I'll give the Bucks credit. They definitely did their homework and they definitely did their film study because they knew how to exploit this defense. It's run with your quarterback, feed the tight end, and throw to the running backs out of the backfield. And they did it, and they did it well. Because Kate Otten, man, that was probably one of the freest, predictions you could make. Is Kate Otten just
goes
absolutely
off.
obliterated our
Classic. We
defense.
let the tight end go right up to see him like 3 plays in a row. Just love to see it.
I saw somebody on Twitter post a picture of Justin Reed next to Daniel Sorensen, and it's like, do we have to start having this conversation? And it's like, because Justin Reed looked really not great today. He started out great when he had an almost interception, but then he kind of looked a little, I don't know. He just didn't look as himself today. And at one point, if my eyes were correct, it looked like he was not on the field for a good portion of time. Jaden Hicks got a lot of playing time, and
Yeah.
Jaden Hicks looked so good, dude. I am so excited for when Jaden Hicks is going to start at safety because I think he could do it now. But I think, you have players in front of him that are veteran leaders and great players, so you're not going to start a rookie. But Jaden Hicks looks so good. He's all over the field. He's made incredible tackles. I just love his tackling technique. He has some of the strongest leg tackles I've ever seen, but he had a pick in that other game too. So anytime I have a chance to shout out Jaden Hicks, I'm going to do it. But I guess we're talking about the bad. We're talking about the bad first, honestly.
So
Garrett.
I mean, we can continue going to the bad. Then we can start glazing them a little bit, kind of just
Yeah,
bring them back up to where we're supposed to be. And we won the game. We can't be too mad, right? But we can be a little bit critical at the start. And one really big thing is that really early on in the game, we just couldn't finish drives, right?
Yeah.
We were able to move the ball really well, and either it's just, Andy Reid calling really stupid plays for no reason, or just really just miscues later down the stretch. I don't know what happened early on, but we did fix it later. I think it was just, hey, what if when we get into the red zone, we just run regular plays?
Yeah.
And it worked out. And it worked out every single time, right? There was one play we called the timeout right before, but we had this stupid silly formation out there. I'm like, oh my god, here we go. We called the timeout, went back out there in a different. I'm like, thank God, we just went to a normal formation. We had four people in the backfield, and Mahomes right in this. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, we were in full house, and I was like, please no, I don't really want to see this right now. I was saying at halftime, why did we abandon the run? Someone in our chat was like, oh, well, we only got 2 yards of carry. But it's like, you can't abandon the run that early. We came out in the second half. We just started pounding the rock with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is a running back.
We can run the ball.
Kareem Hunt's a running back that gets better and better the more you hand him the ball at this point. It's kind of like Derrick Henry-esque, not to compare the two in that regard, but I mean, it is Derrick Henry-esque. Just if you keep feeding him the ball, it's like he's charging up and getting better and bouncing off tackles. And man, Kareem Hunt looked beat, but he just kept running and he just kept going and finally started ripping off big runs. And I mean, he never had a negative run, so that's Kareem Hunt for you. Never a negative run.
I saw a graph, and it perfectly encapsulated what Kareem Hunt is as a player. He had the lowest explosive run percentage in the league, but he also had the lowest negative run percentage in the league. So he got exactly what you needed every single play, right? So he's not going to get you these 10, 11, 12-yard runs. But he will get you 4 yards every time. And it's just he averaged 4 yards a carry, and he had 106 yards. That's just what Kareem Hunt is. He will get you 4 yards a carry every single game, and I love him for that.
Yeah, I mean it's the most consistent thing ever. And then you put Pacheco in, and he gets a flash play when Pacheco comes back, and I can't wait for that to happen.
I think that's the thing that's really missing with our run game right now is just that second level speed that Pacheco can bring straight up the middle. I love Kareem Hunt. But he is just not going to be the guy that just, takes the lead weights off of his legs and just runs one deep up. It's just not going to happen.
Pacheco still has more receiving yards than him. It's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah. Once he comes back, that Pacheco Kareem Hunt backfield is going to be disgusting.
We're going to be so good when that happens. And we're already really good because we're 8-0.
good. So
But we're gonna talk about worthy miscues. We're gonna talk about how he's getting overhated later. But first, we're gonna, bring the valid criticism, which is, I think he got a little too cocky when he was wide open for that catch that would have been a touchdown, and I think that's why didn't have his feet in, and that's just like that's a worthy thing.
it's also a rookie thing. It's like, I understand. Was it a perfect ball? No. Was it late and really close to the sideline? Yeah, but you gotta bring that. You're wide open. You gotta get your feet in.
Yeah, he tried to do like the walk backwards into the end zone thing, and you gotta focus on make the catch first and not try to do some antics. But he had another really, really good contested catch, but he only got 1 foot in bounds. So
it was also just there was just no way he could have brought that second foot. It was just way too far on the sideline.
And it's impressive he even caught it. And that's showing a bunch of effort, because what people are critiquing him on is the effort issues, and he still caught the ball. So it's like, we're talking about this game very differently, this worthy game very differently, if he gets those feet in bounds for both of those plays. And all of a sudden, he's one of the best things the Chiefs have ever seen. So yeah. I valid criticism. It didn't end up hurting us that much. We had other players step up, and I'm not out on Worthy by any metric. I think he has a lot left. Garrett, you put this in the notes. Leo Chenal's worst game this season.
Yeah, he was really quiet, and in terms of grading out, this was by far his worst game. And you could kind of see it. It's one of the first games that really any kind of running back that they put back there was able to gain yards. I mean, keeping them under 100 is great, right? But we
not for us.
Not for us, right? It's just, we've been expecting, keeping these guys to short yardage situations, and especially in pass, it's just like we were letting everyone straight up the middle. I mean, we could not cover a soul. Luckily, we got the coin toss. Honestly, we don't get that coin toss, we probably lose the game.
You think so?
I mean, our defense was getting shredded on that last drive. You think we're going to stop them again? I don't know, man.
Yeah, you're right. Like, they were tasked with stopping them, and they didn't. But I think they would have dialed back in.
Yeah, I did see Leo Chenal make a pretty good play when he's lined up as a 3-tech. I think it was like in the third quarter. I was like, oh, yeah. It was when... Oh, I know. It was a big sack that Leo Chenal forced later in the game. But other
than that... Did Leo Chenal get a sack in this game?
I don't think he had a sack. I think he had an assist, at least. But
like he had a pressure that got someone else's sack.
But yeah, on the other side of the ball, Levante David, we talked about him being injured possibly for the game. He was not. He was not injured.
Levante David is one of my favorite players of all time. And, I was singing his praises, and he was battling through an ankle injury that he got in the Falcons game. And I was like, ankle injury. He didn't practice for the 2 days while we were talking before the podcast. Usually that's he's not going to go type of deal.
Yeah.
He very much went, and he very much went off.
Yeah, he obliterated. Like, he was a force on that dude. He went crazy.
Any single screen pass or sweep that we attempted in that game.
Blown up.
Levante David. Levante David was there. There was one time when it was Justin Watson and Noah Gray lead blocking for Worthy, or I think it might have been Hardman, but it was Worthy, I bet. There was only one person for both of those guys to block, and it was a wide open 10-yard gain. Levante David just blew by both Noah Gray and Justin Watson and made the tackle, and it was like a negative 1 yard gain. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, he was everywhere, but he didn't excel in the thing I was expecting him to do, which was covering Kelsey. Now, maybe that was due to the fact that it's been 3 or 4 years since he was last tasked with covering Kelsey, but Kelsey went off. And we could talk about Kelsey going off too, because into the good segment if you want to. But I mean, Levante David had a great game, but in the end, we got the dub. And
the one last bad thing I want to talk about is we're going to talk that really early on play, the end around reverse to Worthy. Why are we having Mahomes lead block? What was that? Like, that was just such a terribly designed play. It was horrible.
You know what I like? I like what the Bucs were doing with Sterling Shepard. The way that they would just have him run really close to the feet of the offensive lineman, hugging that, and then it goes Baker, snap, handoff, he's running, and he gets 5 yards every time. And it's like, why don't we do that with Worthy? You don't need to make it so cute and do so much orbit bubble. Just go straight down the back of the offensive lineman and get those yards.
Yeah.
Worthy would do it so well. And it's like, stop over cuting it. I'm tired of these play calls where we're trying to get so fancy. It's like, we could outbeat people just by playing normal football.
But I just feel like the pressure's on Andy and Mahomes. Like they're just, it's like the green goblin mask, like in the background, just like cowards. Going for these normal plays. Go for a reverse end around. Mahomes lead block. And it's just like, oh, it didn't work. Classic. Who knew? Who would have guessed?
Yeah. Well, Garrett, do you want to talk about the good now?
Yeah, D-Hop is the GOAT. I was begging for him forever, and we brought him in. He had 1 full week of practice, and look what happened. The guy exploded off the scene. Insane contested catch in triple coverage in a perfect spot by Mahomes. Brings it down. Literally anyone else on our roster doesn't come down with that ball.
I was watching this game at our local Chiefs bar in Austin, Texas. Shout out to the Tavern. And everyone in the Tavern was silent, stunned, and scared. There was fear because anytime Mahomes throws it these days to a wide receiver, we don't think he's going to catch it.
Right.
So we were glued to the television, making sure that Hopkins came back up with the football. Immediately won the trust of everyone in the room. Like DeAndre Hopkins, it feels so good, Garrett, to finally have a wide receiver
that
where
can come down with the ball.
We just know that it's a catch. We don't have to be like, yay, because it was so much of like, yay, he caught it. And then it's like, oh, the ball came out at the end when he hit the ground, because that's literally the story of the last 2 to 3 years. But with Hopkins, oh my gosh, it was beautiful. And then the 2 red zone touchdowns, they were snags, and he was getting open. And
they were normal plays. It's like we finally get in the red zone, and he just runs a quick slant, and it's a quick ball, just contested catch for a touchdown. It's beautiful.
And I got to give a quick shout out to Justin Ross, funny enough, because he was in on, I think, at least one of those. I know for one of those red zone plays. Justin Ross was in, and he was like, pretending like he was about to do a push off fade, but he was actually just kind of like engaging the corner. And then you had Kelsey getting 2 people for a double team, and it just left Hopkins wide open. I find it funny that the defense is really respecting Justin Ross. I mean, hey, he had a lot of college hype, so there he goes. But, D-Hop is just making Kelsey more open, and Kelsey is making D-Hop more open. I think it just is a perfect marriage between the two.
So
they were joking around with each other too, like, oh, it's finally good to have an old unk in the roster too, because Kelsey was tired of being the only old guy. But it's like, it's so nice to finally see. Maybe Veach has turned a leaf and has realized maybe getting Mahomes a veteran is not such a bad idea.
Unk ball is the way to go now. I mean, our top 3 performers in the game offensively was 32-year-old DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah,
we are Unk City right now, and it's working perfectly. I mean, we are. This was our best offensive performance by far, especially by Mahomes. I mean, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Can't ask for more. He was deadly accurate for the majority of the time, especially on third down. I think he was 11 of 12 for like 180 and 3 touchdowns, all on third down.
It was a beautiful masterclass. Garrett, I'm glad you mentioned that stat, because that was something that I wanted to talk about that I forgot to put in the notes. But it was fantastic to watch Mahomes being Mahomes again. He looked so comfortable out there. He looked so back to normal. I think that's why there was so much backlash for this Monday night game. It was less so about the injury. It was less so about the reffing, which we'll talk about. It was less so about the overtime rules. Oh, how dare they be that way? I think the NFL fans are scared of Mahomes again. I think they're starting to be like, uh-oh, he's starting to figure it out.
For the first 7 weeks, Mahomes has given them a little bit of a false hope. They're like, okay, maybe the king has fallen down from his throne, and now he's going to come back. And we don't have all our weapons. Once playoffs start, oh my, we're going to have Pacheco back. We're going to have Hollywood back. Oh, it is going to be nightmarish for defenses. And our defense is going to be even better by then.
And Kelsey, he could have an 1,000-yard season this year in his washed season. He is on pace to maybe hit.
I think it's he's on pace for 975 or something like that.
And even though it's still an elite season for a tight end, nobody does that. So it's actually crazy that even washed Kelsey could can have an amazing year.
And we're talking about all these UNC players. Justin Watson came in and had a phenomenal game as well. He came down with the ball in a lot of clutch situations, and that's kind of his like motif. It's like he'll have a lot of quiet games. He didn't have a lot of great games up till now, and then when he's needed the most, he just pops out of nowhere, comes down and gets a lot of third down catches. That's just his. It's kind of his thing.
I was very happy to see Justin Watson getting back in the fold. He also did it against his former team. He used to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I always joke that Justin Watson has 3 Super Bowls, by the way, because he won one with I almost said the Patriots, with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So Justin Watson, man, what a great little like couple of grabs that I saw from him. I mean, we already talked about Kareem Hunt's amazing game. We already talked about George Karlaftis' amazing game, but George Karlaftis looks so good. I'm going to say it for the third time today. George Karlaftis is a sneaky Pro Bowler. Maybe he weighs all pro. I don't know. He doesn't have the sacks, but he has the pressures. He's gained sacks a lot though, Garrett. And honestly, it's a down year in sacks for the NFL. Dexter Lawrence of the New York Giants, a D tackle, leads the league in sacks. Yeah. And one of the
phenomenal player, by the way. I love Dexter Lawrence.
He's been slept on his entire career, and he's finally getting respect. He also got paid, which is great for him. I'm glad the Giants made a smart decision. Unlike the Panthers, who don't pay their star D end, the Giants are paying their star D tackles. Reason I thought Panthers, they now have the Panthers star D end in Brian Burns. So, hey, it's good to see a bad franchise doing some good, or a bad team right now doing some good franchise moves for the future. And then finally, Garrett, Juwan Taylor is getting a lot of flack for a missed false start penalty because the announcer said it was a false start.
Yeah, they did say it. I'm just gonna address this. I disagree with the loophole. I think anyone who takes advantage of it is just it's definitely a huge advantage for the offensive lineman. However, as the rule is stated, I think it's funny that I saw a lot of Eagles fans pointing he's false start. I'm like, this is Lane Johnson. If you watch any Eagles game, Lane Johnson does the exact same thing. As long as your plant inside foot does not move before the snap, any kind of outside foot motion that we saw Juwan Taylor do on the play is considered a readjustment, right?
Wow.
I don't agree with that. I think it's a false start, but as the rule is stated, his plant foot never left before the snap. He timed it up perfectly, and he got the play. Now, we've seen Lane Johnson do it. A lot of more athletic tackles do the same. Eventually, I think this rule is changed, but as it's stated now, it's not a false start.
Well, and they tried to get him more about their stance. They need to fix the stance thing. And the stance thing combined with this loophole, those look egregious. And so
it looks because he's moving before the snap, but it's technically the readjusting of his positioning before the snap.
Yeah, I think he's fixed his stance. He hasn't been flagged a lot recently. He hasn't been flagged at all in the last 2 games.
I think this was actually, he wasn't flagged last game. Honestly, I was expecting it. I'm like, oh man, it got down to late in the fourth quarter, and I was like, man, you know what? Juwan Taylor hasn't had a penalty yet. I'm kind of worried.
Yeah.
But other than that, we had a great game. And
I mean, honestly,
to that momentum. So.
To everybody complaining about that, do you really look in yourself, look in your soul, look in your heart? Do you really think that false start would have changed the outcome of the game?
It's 2nd and 15 on the goal line instead of 2nd and 10. Yeah, is it really going to change much?
Well, it would have been, I think, 2nd and 10 because it was
on the 5, yeah.
Yeah. So.
I thought it was 2nd and 10, but whatever. Regardless, I mean, it's 5 extra yards. We were torching them down we were just moving at will, so.
Yeah. And Kelsey almost scored on a different play anyway, so. And then we just pounded it in with Kareem Hunt to win the game, which was awesome. So.
But great job, Chiefs. Way to just rip our hearts to the end, as always.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know if anyone who's not a Chiefs fan would listen to the show into 38-51 anyway, so. Who are we even addressing, Garrett?
Ourselves and other Chiefs fans, so.
Yes.
But you can clip that, be like, hey, look, it's not a false start. If you're having an argument with some guy on Twitter that's like, oh, Juwan Taylor, the Chiefs refs, just show him that clip. Be like, hey, it's not a false start. It's the rules, man.
We might make it a reel. It depends on how good the rest of the show is. It's some meta stuff. All right, so this is what I really wanted to talk about. Xavier Worthy is getting a lot of hate by Chiefs fans. They're being really impatient with him. They're saying He's not showing a lot of the signs of a true wide receiver. They're worried he's going to be more of a gadget guy like Mecole Hardman ended up being. And, you know, I'm just done with all the negativity. He is a 21-year-old rookie. He is one of the youngest rookie wide receivers in the league right now, and he has a lot of development left to do. And Andy Reid, when they signed him, was like, that's why we picked him over someone like A.D. Mitchell or someone like Keon Coleman. They wanted the young guy because they knew, A, he'd be here longer, and B, we can develop him into our track. Who's another guy that they developed? Tyreek Hill. They developed him from a running back into an actual wide receiver. These things take time, and Worthy is showing the signs that he needs to be showing that he's going to be A-okay. And look, wide receivers in Andy Reid's system already don't have good rookie years. Rashee Rice was the exception. And Rashee Rice was basically already like a veteran at that point because 4 years in college at SMU, he had a lot of quality playing time, and he is playing almost exactly the same similar role that he played in SMU. So, I mean, that translation was really good. And also, we needed Rashee Rice to step up. And we needed Worthy to step up too, but he's a different type of receiver.
Yeah. And, a lot of these scouts, it's like, with his age and his, physical ability coming into play, it's like coaching wise, you can coach how to get off press. You can coach better routes, but what you can't coach is speed and size, right? Obviously, he can't really get much bigger than he is right now, but you can't beat the amount of just devilish speed the guy has, right? Once he is producing at a high level, it's because our coaches are going to grind him into a player that is going to use that speed and have better route running ability, right? I don't think he's a bad route runner right now, but the moment he gets into that elite status of route running, if that's ever the case, he's going to be unstoppable.
And I think what's going to be great is once he learns those like mid to deep crossing routes that Tyreek Hill was so famous for, because instead of running a drag route that you take for 15 yards, it became a deep crossing drag that you take for 30 to 40 yards. And I think we're going to start to see that soon. And also, quite frankly, the play calling was really bad for him behind the line of scrimmage today. Those orbits, those screens were blown up by Levante David. It was some bad play calling. Those drops were on him. It wasn't even drops. Those catches where his feet were out of bounds were on him. But that's a rookie adjusting to the NFL. Yeah. He has a very big head, and I love that for a receiver. He knows he's him, and he can be him. And so he does have a little cocky attitude of catching it behind the hill. Who else did that, though? Tyreek Hill. I'll leave with this point, Garrett. Who leads the Chiefs in touchdowns on offense right now?
Would it be Hunt?
Kareem Hunt and Xavier Worthy are tied for first with 5 touchdowns each. So I think Worthy's doing his job very fine if he's, tied for first on the team with touchdowns with Kareem Hunt.
And if we're talking about statistical production, I can think of 5, maybe even 6 plays right now where Mahomes has overthrown him on balls where he's wide open down the middle.
Yeah.
And those are 50-yard bombs apiece. So 5 times, give him 250 extra yards and 5 more touchdowns. We're talking about a completely different scenario, right?
Yeah.
But as we mentioned before, Mahomes is getting used to that speed, right? We had 2 years without Tyreek Hill, without that guy that could really burn him down the seam, right? Now he's finally being able to kind of soar it a little bit. And the fact that he's overthrowing rather than underthrowing is kind of crazy when it comes to Worthy's speed. But once Mahomes finally gets that connection down, oh man.
We saw Mahomes overthrow Watson on what would have been a touchdown. And I was like joking to everybody, and I was like, oh, if that was Worthy, that was a touchdown. And it's just like Mahomes is getting so much more confident with these receivers. He's literally had to learn like 15 different receivers. Garrett, we have had 17 people catch the ball this season.
Yep.
We've had 17 different players catch the ball, including Mahomes himself, which is kind of funny, and an offensive lineman, which is now our starting left tackle, Wanya Morris. But 17 different people have caught the ball. He's had so many different wide receivers to adjust to get familiar with. It's now starting to become a solidified group. It's going to always be for the rest of this season until playoffs. Hopkins, Juju, Worthy, Watson. Hardman comes in on gadget plays, and it's going to be the same group regardless. So Mahomes looks so confident and accurate today too. Only like one misfire, and it was with Watson on a deep bomb. Those happen. Mahomes was just hitting everyone in completions. So
also, did you see that stat where D-Hop has 19 different quarterbacks that have thrown a touchdown pass to him?
I thought it was like 17 or like 12.
Yeah,
you
I
sure
mean,
it's
it was
19?
I'm pretty. It was like way up there. It was like very surprising. I don't know
He
if they
might have.
included college, but it
Oh,
was a
I see what you're
huge. It was
saying.
yeah, it was a huge number. But
Yeah. Either way, I mean, Hopkins is a Hall of Famer, especially if he gets a ring, which I hope he
oh
does.
my god, dude! And I know he's old.
I
If he
want him
continue,
resigned.
dude, re-sign him, please.
I want him to retire a Chief.
You know how long I've wanted D Hop so bad. And after that post game interview that he had, I mean, he's already fallen in love with Chiefs Kingdom. I mean, he almost had tears in his eyes talking about how he had those 2 touchdown catches, and he could just hear just the stadium erupt. And I think he's just ready to have a good time.
That's actually such a great point because, like, you're in the Titans stadium and you score a touchdown. And they're like, "Yay, D Hop cuts the lead
Now he did
to
say that he
14."
was really grateful for the Titans organization, and he said that remember the Titans celebration was actually like in favor of them. Like, hey, you know what, you guys did the best you could for me, and I appreciate what you guys did, and now I'm gonna go ball out somewhere else. So
Well, and here's why the Titans did right by him. First off, they paid him what he was worth. They paid him a lot of money. And second off, they sent him to a team he wanted to go to. There are a lot of teams that will not do that and will
They're
not
like,
trade
no,
you to
no.
a team that you want to go to.
No,
Like poor Jonathan Mingo. I'm kidding. uh, who's a player that recently got traded that I'm like, oh man, that's probably not where they wanted to go. I don't know, because not many bad teams are trading right now. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there's definitely places that will not honor what you want to do. And, shout out to the Tennessee Titans. We've rivaled them when they were good a lot. And I went to the AFC Championship the AFC Championship game against the Titans. So that was a really cool playoff experience. That was a good one. Sammy Watkins was killer in that game.
Speaking of current playoff contenders, the Broncos are currently in the playoff picture. Who knew?
Wow. Good stuff, Broncos. Honestly, though, jokes aside, they're a pretty solid team and a team that could definitely beat us. I think the rivalry games are always going to be close. Apparently, any Chiefs game is always going to be close this year, unless you're playing the Saints.
Yeah.
Because the Saints are trash. Sean Payton has really turned the Broncos around. He got rid of all the bad players he didn't want last year. He brought in a lot more of his guys this season. He got his quarterback, who has looked a lot better. So better, in fact, I've started him the last 3 weeks in fantasy, and he's been doing me some great stuff. It was a deep league, and I went the no quarterback draft strategy. And the quarterback I did end up with was Justin Fields, and he was good until they stopped using him. Jokes aside.
Bo Nix he had a really slow September. I mean, I was really trashing on him those first couple games, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we go, another bad Broncos quarterback. But I mean, he's really pulled it together through October. Statistically, he's having a better year than Mahomes. So
yeah. Hey, he has receiving touchdowns. Both Mahomes and Bo Nix have a catch. Just Bo Nix has a touchdown catch, and Bo Nix didn't throw his own touchdown catch, which that would be crazy. But honestly, though, Broncos defense looked really bad against Baltimore, but I don't.
But that's also Baltimore. That's Baltimore. So
yeah, and I don't expect that to be the continued trend. And also, they were out PJ Locke, who is their starting safety. He's not a huge name. I know him because he went to Texas, but he's really, really good. And guess who they had as his replacement, Garrett? I don't know if you're going to remember this guy. You remember Devin Key for the Chiefs?
Oh, yeah. Oh, what year was that, dude?
It was like when we had Zane Anderson and Devin Key as undrafted safeties, and we had like Daniel Sorensen still, I think. And it was like,
gosh, I miss Daniel Sorensen.
Devin Key was supposed to be this UDFA star, and he was horrible in the preseason. And I don't think he ended up. He like made the roster a couple times on like elevations, but like that was who was starting for the Broncos last week. If PJ Locke comes back, they're going to be a lot better of a situation than that. I know Brandon Perna, the Broncos fan I followed, was like really upset about Devin Key's performance the entire time. Like he was just like, it was horrible. So one safety can change an entire defense. One good,
just as
safety.
One corner can have us going from lockdown to opening up the floodgates against a bunch of wide receiver 5s and 6s.
Absolutely, that's what happens, But yeah, as we said, they're gonna play us close. Like, I mean, it's just a rivalry game. They're gonna play us close, and I can't tell because both the Broncos and Chiefs are kind of similar in the way as where they will have really close low scoring games, and then all of a sudden we'll also have like really close high scoring games. So I don't know if this will be a high scoring game or a low scoring game.
Now this
My
this
heart
will
says
be
low.
yeah, man. I could see this being like a 14-10 game, or I can see it being like a 30-29 game.
Yeah,
Right.
I really
So
could.
this will be our offense's first really big hurdle since week 1 with the Ravens. Broncos are top 5 in rushing defense, so our rushing attack might have its struggles. I know we've kind of like stuttered and puttered a little bit from time to time, so we're gonna have to have a really good scheme going into. Are we playing in Denver or are we at home?
That's a great question. I was supposed to know that.
You'd think we'd know that, but anyway,
No, don't worry. We can know that
We got it.
immediately because we have the schedule right here.
We're home. We're home. So they're going to be coming into Arrowhead. I think the run game might struggle early, but I think scheme wise we may be able to pick it up as we did with the Buccaneers in the second half. Because Kareem Hunt just only gets better the more you give him the ball. So expect like some early on stops. I would expect, and later on I think I could see him explode. They're also pretty good against the pass. So their defense it's pretty good. Just statistics wise, I think our matchups actually are pretty good, but like I said, if our offense comes out firing like we did against the Buccaneers, I think we're gonna have a good night. If we kind of stall back into this cutesy kind of just 3 and out kind of offense, I don't think we're gonna do very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like we said, it's going to be close regardless. Running the ball is going to be difficult, but I think Worthy might actually break one out this game. And I think we're going to probably pass on them a lot more than I think they're going to be allowing, because Pat Surtain's amazing. Don't get me wrong. And it's definitely going to be a tough challenge. I'm curious to think, are they going to put Pat Surtain on Kelsey like they have in the past, or are they going to put him on Hopkins now that we actually have a true wide receiver?
They're going to have to choose, and it's going to be a really deadly choice either way.
I honestly can see Kelsey like doing almost any matchup for the rest of the season, being like an 8 to 10 catch a guy, but still not hitting 100 yards. Yeah. I think that might just be like what goes forward, because he's really just running short routes, catching ball, and then going down 5-yard carries. It's almost like running the ball. It's kind of, I mean, we were moving all over against the Bucs at will.
Now, I know we've been taught like, yes, they are. The Broncos have been good this year. They've played a lot of teams close. They play really good football. However, they haven't beaten a team that's over 500 this year. So
and that's an important stat.
Are they really, this playoff team, this playoff contender, or are they just playing who they have on their schedule? Right? So
it's a hard thing to say. I mean, we saw what happened when the Bears had to play a good opponent for the first time. Now, granted, that was like a Hail Mary, but I feel like the Bears were kind of getting dominated that entire game. So, the Bears were one of those teams that had played really, really easy schedule and then turned out to maybe not be true contenders. Broncos played the Ravens and they kind of got smacked, but I heard the score is not as indicative of what actually happened in that game, and it was a lot closer early on. And there was just a lot of missed cues, like they're wide open receivers that just dropped the ball. Bo Nix missing wide open receivers, and it just nothing was working. And those things could change in a heartbeat, and all of a sudden you're up a touchdown on the Chiefs. So I think we're gonna go into score predictions. By the way, I was just gonna think about it. I think it's going to be 27-23 with the Chiefs on top. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think we keep up our no more 28-point games. And I think that our offense is going to look a lot better. But I think, like you said, red zone struggles, we're going to have to settle for some field goals. And that's going to result in it being 27. Offensively, I really don't think Kareem Hunt's going to have a good game. I think it's going to be hard for him to get going. I think he may have like a 50 rushing yard, 1 touchdown kind of game.
On probably 25 carries or something like that.
Not 25.
Probably
carries.
20. We'll go 20 carries.
I hope he gets 20 carries. That needs to keep up because that's been keeping defenses honest.
We had 47 minutes of time of possession, by the way.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, I'm glad you looked that up. Okay, that's again. Really, this game's going to come down to who dominates the time of possession. But I think Mahomes looks super confident. I'm going to expect a little bit more of passing out of the backfield. You know what, Garrett? Maybe Kareem Hunt has a receiving touchdown. Who knows? Who knows? Because like Mahomes found P. Ryan out of the backfield. Mahomes was finding like lots of players on the move, scrambling. Like, it was so good to see him back to normal.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's going to continue. He has his famous Jerick McKinnon like throw against Denver. He has his famous left-handed throw against Denver too. So. Expect him to throw it between his legs behind his back and complete a somersault dunk to a Noah Gray touchdown. I think our tight ends are going to eat because their linebackers are
I could see that as well. I'm actually going to, my score prediction, I'm stealing the Ravens score, not defensively. If they can score 41, why can't we? I'm having us go 41-27.
Garrett, we're not going to score 41 points.
Hey, you never. What if they can't? Why not us? Huh? Why not us?
You've been predicting high scoring Chiefs games for a while, Garrett. If it hits, we will clip it. We will make
clip it, and we're gonna make it look like I haven't been predicting high score. Hey, I got really close this last week.
Yeah, no, our predictions were spot on, and Jackson's too. Jackson wanted us to mention one of his predictions on the podcast. I forget what it was though. So. 1 second. We could look it up, right, Garrett? He texted it to us literally like earlier today. So, but
yeah, Rip Jackson. He'll be back next week. He's obviously there's been multiple times in this podcast that he would have been really useful to have, and we're really appreciative of him. So once he gets back, we're gonna be right on it with stats and stuff like that. But
yeah, I'm still looking for what he said.
I'm gonna keep talking and stall for David because
dude, I hate Snapchat. Prediction. I hate Snapchat because it deleted what he said.
We got to start just like having it in like a text document or something.
Yeah. Well, Jackson got something right last week. So
I'm sure we can go back and look at it later, but
that you guys could just go watch the last episode. So
this is true. Watch another episode of Talkin Chop, baby.
So yeah, guys, that wraps up our hour. This is me, Dave Pokorny, the host of this show and the runner of Upper Hand Chiefs on Instagram. Having a real good time running that account, by the way. Go check it out on Instagram. Give the podcast a 5-star review because it's helpful, because you love the show and you can't live without listening to us in the shower every Wednesday morning. And also shout out to Garett Aimutis. His high school team has been doing amazing as they have won a playoff game, right, Garrett?
Yeah, we won a playoff game. Look, we were 1-7 in the regular season. Played a lot of close games.
Wait, how do you make the playoffs at 1-7?
So how Kansas high school works is everyone makes the playoffs, right?
Okay.
We went into a 7-1 team and beat them. So really exciting there. Have another great matchup this week. So hopefully we can continue that streak going. But the boys are really excited.
It would be really funny, Garrett, if y'all won state.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's like I always tell my guys, it's like, hey, not only thing 8-0 looks good on is a t-shirt. Right. So,
yeah, that's a pretty good saying. So we'll keep giving you guys updates on Garrett's Mustangs if they continue to win playoff games. So, shout out, man. Shout out,
baby.
That's good.
And we're just talking
that's
shop.
Good coaching.
We're just talking
shop, baby. See you next week.